Hi, Heather. We have
Hi,
not
Krista.
done a coffee break in a little while, and we have decided to give ourselves a real time crunch this time because we're doing it like right before our most recent webinar that's happening in
In
14
minutes.
minutes from
Yeah.
this conversation. But you had posted a Wendell Berry quote on your Substack the other day, and I am curious. And because it relates, I think, to our upcoming webinar about delving
Yeah.
more into community and discernment and community. Um, let's riff on that for a little bit. Maybe
Sure.
say what the quote is, and then we can kind of go from there.
Well, do you happen to have it open in front of you? Because I don't know if I have it right handy. It's something to the effect, and I
I'll
won't,
look while you
I'll,
talk.
I'll misquote it, but it was something to the effect that I'm not anti-technology, I'm pro-community. And I
Yes.
will, I'm completely willing to destroy any machine that puts the community at risk. That's the essence of it.
Yeah, I've
And
got it. I am not against technology so much as I am for community. When the choice is between the health of a community and technological innovation, I choose the health of the community. I would unhesitatingly destroy a machine before I would allow the machine to destroy my community. Wendell Berry.
yeah. Yeah, that it just landed for me because I've been really quite skeptical of all the AI development, and as you know, we have some rants about that and stuff like that. And I
Yeah.
try to stay open. I try to stay no, maybe. And I've listened to a couple of podcasts recently that really were using AI technology in really innovative ways in ways to like respond to environmental crisis and health crisis and stuff. So I
Hmm.
don't want to just be shut off to the technology. And so,
Sure.
but when I read his quote, I thought that's exactly it. Like what we're lacking in so much of this technology development is that we're not applying the discernment or using a lens of community to evaluate it. Instead, and this is part of being in the industrial era, being in such a capitalism driven world, is that we let the machines run ahead of us because somebody is making money from them, and so therefore it must be a good thing. And it's similarly to social media, like it runs ahead of us. The algorithms run
Yeah.
far ahead of us, and then they begin to shape our community rather than the community using discernment to decide what is of value to the collective. And so somehow we have to bring that back into our consciousness so that we're not, the machines are in support of community and the
Mm.
collective, in support of our human development, in support of our ecosystems, our ecology. If that is happening, and if that lens is being applied, then yes, let's develop the technology. Absolutely. I saw some beautiful, or I was listening to a podcast about this beautiful AI technology that was essentially speaking on behalf of a river. And the river
Mm.
was like they were gathering all this data about the health of the river and the pollutants that were going into it and why like how the temperature of the water was changing the fish in the river and stuff like that. And gathering all this data was helping them to create essentially an AI voice for the river saying,
Mm.
this needs to change or these pollutants need to stop being put into the river system. And that was a really good use of that kind of collated data that could create a
Right.
voice and create an AI kind of technology. But that's in service to what we value, the river's ecosystem. And so I don't know what that looks like on a big scale, but I do know that we have to shift away from this capitalism as God kind of
Yeah.
paradigm that is putting the machine ahead of the people
Yeah.
and putting the development and the endless, like the unstoppable growth of a capitalist system ahead of how is this actually serving us as a collective? And I think that's the space in which you and I are trying to work. It's like, what are
Hmm.
we doing that is in service to the collective? And we can bring the machines alongside to support that. But first and foremost, we got to get our priorities in order. I think is a really
Very
big part of
much.
this. And I mean, few people articulate that as well as Wendell Berry. Like, and there was another quote in that same article that was something about um, there's no such thing as the health of the individual. It's always
Yeah.
the health of the community. Like we need to prioritize that over, and like I might not be articulating that well either, but it was more about how do we build our health in our systems that supports all the individuals in the system, but does not separate us or disconnect
Hmm.
us. And again, like if the technology of social media is disconnecting us, that's when it's become harmful to that, the
Yeah.
ultimate good. But if it's actually connecting us, if it's actually helping us, be more effective in our relationships, then yes, let's celebrate it and embrace it.
Hmm.
So that's my
Hmm.
ramble.
Yeah.
What
Yeah, no, and I
way to
totally
process
agree. And
that.
I feel like you can sort of see the point where um, the capitalists started to see that the tools of things like social media were uniting us in ways that were very threatening to capitalist systems. And since then, the algorithms have significantly changed to become
Yeah,
much more divisive and much more fear-based, fear-mongering,
yeah,
much more, it feels intentionally so than maybe it had happened accidentally before then. Um,
yeah,
but it makes me think too, as you're speaking about community, because I sort of have this theory that I presented in my not the main character course about the three types of community: communities of origin, communities of circumstance, and communities of intention. And I think in communities of origin and communities of circumstance, much like technology, you don't always bring intention to them. You don't always think about the dynamics going on in them. You just sort of exist in them and aren't always conscious of
yeah,
the underlying things going on. And you're not always invested in making those communities better necessarily because they just sort of are. Um,
yeah,
and how important it is to develop communities of intention and how those other two communities can become communities of intention, where you can grow and mature together. And we've talked about that too, how we need more mature communities, not just more mature individuals. We
yeah,
need more mature communities to be able to have better accountability, to be able to actually impact systems in meaningful
yeah,
ways,
yeah,
to collectively dream new stories together, that can become systems that are helpful for more
yeah,
people than the few people who are hoarding wealth, uh, and finding every last way to do that.
yeah. Well, and there's so much wisdom in what you just said. Like, if we are putting our intention and our effort and our love and our commitment into the community and into growing healthy,
Yeah,
not just healthy, but mature communities. And that's something I've been wrestling with language
yeah,
around that. But how do we get
yeah,
to maturity in our relationships? And it's coming up in the presentation we're doing in just a few minutes. But once I put my focus there and the community is strong, then
yeah.
the community is not going to tolerate the
That's right.
technology that damages it. So
Yeah,
that's when we're going to stand up and say, no, not okay. The social media algorithms, the destructive AI systems, any of those systems, not acceptable
yeah.
in this paradigm and in where we're putting our focus. And so,
Okay.
but that is one of the critical steps. Like if there is a process, and I
Yeah,
don't know if there's a really clear process here, but one of the most important things is strengthen your communities so that they are less susceptible to the technology causing harm and
yeah,
to social media, etc. And you and I have
totally.
had that experience where a community was damaged by the technology
Hmm.
because we weren't communicating as effectively on the platforms as we would have been if we had stepped off the platforms
Yeah,
in those times. And so that's an example
totally.
of put the effort into the community and then decide, okay, this is helping us, this is harming us, and we have that discernment lens there.
Yeah, absolutely. We obviously have 400,000 more thoughts on this, but we'll save them for another coffee break time.
Yeah,
We got to get ready for our webinar coming up. And yeah, we've got another one, webinar 8's coming up at the end of September. We'll delve more into some of these topics. And we
Yeah.
would love to see you there. Holding How to Hold Space Foundation program registration is open. We'd love to have you join us for that cohort. Always just an amazing experience every time, because there's new people and they bring new
Yeah.
insights, and I don't know, you just keep learning and learning with this stuff, which I love. So
Yeah,
anything
and
else
we're so
before we?
excited to have speaking of community, our community is coming
Yes,
to Vancouver Island towards the end of
so
September, and we're
exciting.
really delighted to be hosting them and gathering away from technology for a few days of just yeah,
Totally.
relationship building and yeah, strengthening that. So
Yeah, still some
yeah,
time to sign up for that too if you're interested. All the info's on our website.
yeah,
And Heather will try to post a link to that article somewhere, either on Substack or in
I will.
YouTube, or wherever
Yeah,
this
I can
ends
do
up.
that.
Okay, till next week. Have a good rest of your week.
Next week or whenever we happen to manage
Whenever we
to
do this
record
again.
another one of these. Yeah. We're
Alrighty.
putting
See you soon.
relationships above technology
That's
or
right.
above
That's right.
schedules. Yeah.
Absolutely. Try to
Yeah,
practice what we preach here. That's all.
exactly.
All right. See you soon.